One from the vaults now, an episode of the much-loved and missed RNZ series Spectrum. Producer Elwyn Owen joins country vet Mac Wallace on a day's fieldwork near Gisborne. The first job is helping out with a dairy cow having a bit of trouble delivering its calf.
It's a pity you picked one of the wettest days of spring to come out with me. We're going to get a little bit damp.
Well, what effect will that have on your work here?
Or just that we get more dirty work. No, the point is, in this sort of weather, cows seem to have more trouble calving. In fine weather, they pop them out, no trouble at all. But as soon as it starts to rain, well, they get trouble. And of course, everybody gets wet and dirty. Well, there's our patient.
What's the routine then?
Bucket of water, put in some disinfectant. Take a watch off first. And then have a feel around and see what's going on. See what it's going to be. Well, you'll notice that Robert has been having a go. He's got a couple of bits of nylon rope tied onto something here. Probably a couple of front feet that he's been able to find, but not the head, so we're going to have to dive in there and see what we can do about that.
Mac, this is rather like lambing on a larger scale.
Yes, actually, it's a bit easier because there's a bit more room.
Mm-hmm.
Lambing sometimes get a little bit tight, you see. You've got a normal-sized hand, it's a bit hard to get in there. But calving usually is a bit more room. She looks like well, she's not a first calver, she could be a second or third calver, so she's not going to be too difficult. Dairy sheds, there's always a good supply of hot water. Some of these jobs on the beef places, there's no water for miles from the yards.
She doesn't seem distressed on it anyway.
Oh, she's pushing a bit, but she's not really worried. As long as she doesn't go down into the pit. These herringbone sheds are not quite so easy to work in as the old walk-through types. They're a hell of a lot easier for the farmers to milk cows in, but any sort of treating feet or calving just get a little bit awkward.
You don't have much room there, do you?
Well, you'd notice how our ass is jammed up against that post, you see. We're going to have to sort of push her forward and turn her around. Get a parallel with the rate. Well, now, I'll just walk around the other side. His pit, as you'll notice, is full of a fine solution there. Then a well-organised sort of a farmer, Robert has taken the opportunity to go and have some breakfast, you see. He'll no doubt turn up when we've got the bloody calf here.
2 chains, what are they for?
Well, those bits of chain are very easy to position inside the cow. All I'm going to do is try and hook one around its head, you see. His bits of rope are probably going to be all right on there, so it's just a matter of getting in there. And look, I'm going to get a bit more cold water in this. It's too warm. Morning, Roberto. How are you?
That's a big calf, eh?
Looks like it. Have you found his nose?
Everything's ready. I looked last night and looked. I thought she'd be all right, but she wasn't. It's alive too, eh?
Oh, well, stick her in like I'm trying to get a hand in there. Robert, do you mind getting around there and pushing her ass over this way so we can just sort of get her straightened up a little? Well, now, you see, the trick with these sort of jobs is to get the nose coming out just above the toes. Because if you don't, the whole thing gets larger. If you pull the feet without pulling the head, you're going to make the overall diameter bigger. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to catch that head, pull it out with the toes, which is quite often a little bit easier said than done. And this is one of those cases where it is. You've got to drop the chain over behind his ears, you see. And he's not being very happy about it.
How many of these do you get in the course of a season?
Too many. Actually, we don't get a hell lot of dairy here at all, man. How many dairy farmers are there?
Oh, in Gisborne, I think now, town-wide there's about 18. Yeah, just Gisborne.
Nowhere near the sort of work you'd get in a full dairy practice. And now go and do that knot, you see, and slide it forward. You don't want to have a lasso type of loop. You want something that's going to stop, otherwise you choke him. You want to get it about under his chin if you can. Okay, look, come out here and grab these hands. If you go back to the end of that rope, see? Hook it over the top of the beam there. That's the stuff. Go around again, so you've got a half turn around it. Full turn around, that's the stuff. Okay, take it up as I sit on the rope. And again.
Now getting an upward pull there.
No,
is that the idea?
It's a downward pull, but the end of the rope has got to be tightly held, otherwise all you're doing is pulling.
Now, one end of the rope is attached to the calf, and the other to a beam.
The
cow can't move, so if Max sits down on the rope, the leverage should ease the calf out.
Well, this is why it's such hard work. Now, don't let us slide over. The main thing is we keep applying the weight.
Well, something's coming. We can see the head now.
Oh, a very swollen tongue, you notice?
Yes.
He's a big calf and he's been trying to come out for a while and he's been having trouble. Now, can you take that up as I sit up? You all right? Yeah. The idea is that you try and apply the traction in the direction of the calf normally sort of drops.
Yes.
You certainly don't want to pull up and go sort of down. Now, that head's come through there quite well. All we've got to do now is just keep
Well, the head's out, and out she comes. Like shelling peas, mate.
I don't know about that. She probably thinks it's more like pink shells.
Please be careful, right?
You always have a wee bit of a stick up with the hips, but she's right.
Oh, there we are.
Now, that's a mighty big calf.
It's a big calf, all right? A little bull calf, eh?
Big bull calf.
Yeah, big bull.
Well, the Charolais boys are having a lot of bull calves this year. One bloke told me he was on 23 calves and about 20 of them were bulls. They, of course, want all the heifers they can get. Now, where would you like that calf put to?
Oh, I'll put it out. I'll take it out front of her and then she'll get out there.
Well, there's nothing else I want to do at the moment, excepting if she doesn't clean, give us a yell in about 3 or 4 days. Okay?
She's sound, naughty.
Good. Open your gate and we'll let her out. Going to be all right as long as he hits a bit of grass. Trying to stand up on the concrete yards, they hurt him, so they just don't succeed so well. Coming out this way.
Yep.
Mac, you enjoy this sort of work, obviously.
I enjoy it. It's pleasant. We're, I think, reasonably well paid these days. And you get all the exercise you want. And it involves, you might say, the whole man. You've got to think and you've got to work sometimes quite hard too. So I enjoy it.
How do you look on animals yourself, Mac? Do you call yourself an animal lover at all?
Well, I have a sort of respect for animals, I'd say. I don't class myself as an animal lover because I don't like people that love animals. They prove to be very difficult to deal with and rather a source of embarrassment. They'll make such a hell of a fuss about a small dog or, in some cases, a cat. You feel, in this case, that you're treating the person and not the animal. In most cases like this, it's the sort of job I don't like anyway. But I've got a great respect for cattle, bulls, horses, particularly. I'd say I like horses. I wouldn't say I love them, but I like them. They don't win when I want them to, but they're nice animals to deal with. I think it's probably because they're pretty stupid animals, and you know exactly what they're going to do before they know what they're going to do. It's nice to meet a chappie who can handle horses to deal with them. Now, in this district, there's 2 or 3 blokes who are outstanding in this respect. Ray Reichenbach's one of them. His way with horses is, to me, it's just ideal. He tells them to stand up, and they stand up. Some of the roughies, of course, up the coast, they make life interesting. But horses, by and large, are the animals I prefer to play around with.
Well, that's one down for the day, Mac.
Yeah, well, now going to see a cow that may have dislocated a leg or broken a leg. Another dairy cow around at Eric Cameron's place, so hop in and we're off.
As it turns out, there isn't much Mac can do for Eric Cameron's limping cow. He diagnoses a bruised shoulder that will probably heal with time, and makes a booking to pregnancy diagnose some cows. And then it's on to Ray Reichenbach's Aintree stud to look at a foal with the scours and a mare well past her foaling date. The rain has eased, and skylarks salute the sun as Ray leads us across to the foal.
That's another Duncan, is it?
He was only born on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
He looks pretty right, but he was scouring so badly yesterday, and he's only 3 days old.
Uh-huh.
Now, hang on, I'll catch him. He wasn't drinking particularly well after either.
Wait, stand still. Come on now, just relax. You're all right. Oh, you've really been a very watery sort of scan.
Yes.
Okay.
So I thought we'd better do something pretty quick and lively.
Well, give him... You gave him 1.5.
Yes.
Right.
No, tip it. Take that out and tip it in that way.
Oh, I see.
It's much easier.
You'll be right.
He did get a bit spilt yesterday when we were tipping it down his throat. He didn't get a hell of a lot. That's why we gave him 1.5 rather than just...
Yeah, well, what is this anyway? Oh, that's a 35. You could do with 1.5, you know. Size he is. Come on, Eddie.
But he's brightened himself. But at this age, it's best to do something for them before something happens. He gave him injections so he doesn't get any complications.
Come, mate. Do a bit of swallowing, eh? Yes, sir, boy.
What are you giving him, Mac?
It's a combination of sulfonylamides, antibiotics, kaolin and pectin, which has got all the things in that are supposed to stop a young animal from scouring. Which you've got to do with a young foal like this, otherwise they get very dehydrated. And like you say, he doesn't get a whole lot of it, does he?
No,
Oh,
so...
somewhat.
How did the bridge go last night? Rotary, was it?
Rotary first,
yes.
bridge afterwards.
Oh, yes.
I think we might have done rather well.
Oh, very good. I suppose this will be a free consultation this morning. There's my pony Stallion's girlfriend over the fence there. He loves her. Piebald pony.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's beautiful.
She is too.
Mm.
Come on, have them right again.
Keeps him happy. And...
Have another drop of this stuff. It's good for you. Come on, sucker. Doesn't taste like milk, boy, but it's good for you.
I thought Caresta would fold during the night. She's been waxed up for 2 days. That's all set?
Yeah, that's all. Let him go.
Still hasn't, but never mind. Wait a minute. Well, I'll get to have a look at Light Salute. She's got an udder. She's due to fall on the 2nd of September, and her udder on one side's quite large and quite small on the other side, and she's just a few days off by the look of it, so we'll check that one out.
Have a look at it, good.
Before you go.
The mare's okay, Mac decides. She'll probably foal tonight. There's time to admire Duncan Junction, standing at Aintree, and then we're off to Tipuru. Sheep now for a change. Stock manager Selwyn Scudder has 300-odd rams waiting in the shed here. A good shed, too, with a fully equipped kitchen and a piano even. Food for the shearers' souls as well as their stomachs. But it's not the long grind of a shearing day that brings us here, but rather Mac's 4th job of the morning, an hour's energetic work jabbing a needle into Colin Williams' rams.
Well, what we got here is 300 Perrendale rams, which we're going to vaccinate against epididymitis due to brucella. It affects rams by causing inflammation of the epididymis, which is the tube that carries the spermatozoa away from the testes, and they get a very fibrous condition known as epididymitis of either one or both testicles. It's not an uncommon disease in rams. Epididymitis can be caused by other bacteria, but this is about the only one you can do anything about. So we like to make sure that the rams are vaccinated before they go out with the ewes. Righto, well, we'll go and get in. Righto, Selwyn, how many have you got here?
About 340.
And just as well I bought a bit of extra dope then. We right? As you can see, they're very vigorous little rams.
Just shove it in the flank and squeeze.
Yep.
Well, Mac, 11 o'clock and 4 jobs done. But
Yeah,
you were
well,
on
that's
the...
not
you-
bad going, is it?
It's not bad going, but you were on the job before we came along, weren't you,
Oh,
this morning?
yes, I had a calving at 7 o'clock, one of those Charolais jobs for Johnny Kinder. It was a big calf, but it was coming backwards, so we managed to get it out without too much trouble.
Well, if all this is very much routine, what are some of the oddities you come up against, Mac?
The oddest thing, I think, was this tranquilizing gun that we bought. We had an American chap come over from Atlanta City, Red Palmer, and he had an excellent tranquilizing gun. He used a drug called Sernalan, which was very effective indeed. As soon as it hit the beast, it started to lie down, and it was on the deck in about 2 minutes. So we bought one of these guns, and I was rather surprised to find we didn't have very much use for it. However, one day a bloke rang up, and he had a bull over the back of his farm in the next door neighbour's bush, and he wanted to get this bull out. They hadn't been able to succeed with the usual shotgun and horses and dogs, and he thought if the bull was tranquilised, he'd be easier to get through this gate and onto his own farm. So I got on a horse and took my gun with me, got up the top of this hill, and there was about 300 acres of tea tree and scrub. And he stood around about 10 yards from me in among some tea tree, tall tea tree. So I shot him with the tranquilising dart and happily told the owner to roll himself a smoke, and then we'd walk him through the gate. Which he did, and as the bull walked through the gate, I was looking for my dart. It was, I thought, in his flank. There was no sign of it. And I realised that I'd probably missed the bull and hit a tea tree stump, and it was the farmer's confidence which got the bull out of the paddock, not the tranquiliser. That's the sort of thing that, can happen. But the oddest thing really shows, it didn't happen to me, it happened to one of our other veterinary surgeons here. He was called out to a calving. And when he got there, people were standing around a bit, and the calf had a couple of bits of baling twine tied onto its front legs. Now, obviously, they'd been having a go, but they hadn't done much good. It was a beef cow, and it was in a race with a post, one of these 4-inch pine posts stuck in behind it to keep it up the race. And so our friend got stripped off and got into the job, and after about half an hour's work, he managed to extract this calf. And then the people said, oh, well, now we can take Mum to hospital. And the vet inquired, what's happened to Mum? And then they showed him her hand, and during the course of her attempts to extract this calf, her fingers had become entangled with the baling twine, and the cow had lurched forward, and she'd chopped the end of her middle finger of her left hand off, which was recovered at a later stage, but I'll tell you about that. So the vet said, right, well, off she goes quickly, you better get her up to hospital. So father and mother hop in their car, and off they go. The neighbour who was there to help suddenly had a thought that perhaps this finger might be of some assistance to the surgeon, so he said to John, where's the finger? They pulled it out of the bottom of the race, which wasn't in a very hygienic condition, put it in a plastic bag after washing it in some Savlon, and the friend or neighbour hopped into his car and hastened in towards the Cook Hospital with this finger in a plastic bag. He didn't know, but halfway into the hospital, the first family had run out of juice, and they were on the side of the road, but he passed them at about 70 and didn't see them, frantically waving him down. So he arrived at the hospital with a finger, but no patient to go with it. About 20 minutes later, the family arrived with the lady there with the end of the finger missing. The surgeon in charge of the case took one look at the plastic bag and said no, he didn't think that would survive its experience. So he patched up the end of the lady's finger, and she's still today missing the last joint of the middle finger of her left hand. Which goes to show you how concerned some people are for their animals' welfare.
That story about Gisborne country vet Mac Wallace is from the archives and was produced in 1975 by Elwyn Owen for the long-running RNZ series Spectrum. And thanks to Ngā Taonga Sound and Vision for that audio.